What's up, everybody? I'm your host, Isaiah Smith, and welcome back to Insights with Isaiah Show. Are y'all ready to get into this show? Let's get into it. So first up, we got insightful quotes. Now, I have been calling it quote of the day since the beginning of the show, but I said, let's give it a new name. Let's give it something fresh. Let's give it something exciting. Here's the insightful quote. In order for something to come up, you have to put something down. That's by Pastor Robert Smith Jr. He's the pastor of New Bethel Baptist Church in Detroit, Michigan. To give you some information about New Bethel Baptist Church, that's the church that Aretha Franklin's father, Reverend Cecil Franklin, pastored. I still recall my dad going to some of her concerts that she had there in the summer, and I would usually say, "Hey, Dad, can I go with you?" He'll say, "No, son, you can't." So I wish I was able to attend her concerts. All right, let's get into our next segment. We have something I'm calling This Is Who Isaiah Am. This Is Who Isaiah Am is a segment all about who I am. So if you recall in the first show, I shared that I'm a freshman. I started off as a freshman at Norfolk State University. I met my homeboys who I've known for 5 or 6 years, my homeboy David, Jalen, and Josh. I still remember being in the caf, Scott Dozier Hall. Shout out to Scott Dozier Hall on the campus of Norfolk State University. And my friend David asked me, "Are you a nursing major?" I said, "I'm not." So we got to talking. I found out his name. He found out my name. And we just began to develop this relationship as friends. Then I remember the following day, my homeboy Jalen was sitting next to him and they were with some other people. And so I introduced myself to Jalen. He introduced himself to me, and me, David, Jalen, we all just started talking, and we have been cool all that semester. And then the following semester, spring semester, which was spring of 2020, that's when I met my homeboy Josh. And Josh, I met him in K&G Fashion, which is, no, I'm sorry, J.C. Penney's. Yes, I met him in J.C. Penney's. The school was the Career Development Center on the campus of Norfolk State University was doing like a suit thing where you can go and use a code to get 50% off. And I met him there and we were talking. He seemed like a cool guy I could connect with. From that day forward, we all became a friend group, and I've known them, all 4 of them, since March of 2020. So I'm so glad to have met them. I'm so glad to know them. Shout out to them if they ever come across this episode. And then going to the second episode, one of the things I mentioned is I love to talk. So I still remember being a freshman at Norfolk State. And when I was a freshman there, I majored in business entrepreneurship. And I remember as I'm majoring in business entrepreneurship, I was making videos. I had this bright idea to make videos. I did Spiritual Sunday, Motivational Monday, Triumphant Tuesday, Winning Wednesday, Thankful Thursday, Finish Strong Friday, and I forgot what Saturdays was called. And I remember saying, "What's up, y'all?" At that time, y'all, what you all don't know is I was very bland with my videos. I didn't have life in my videos. I would just be bland, and I'm like, "What's up, y'all?" And my voice will be all deep. And I remember over time, one of the residential directors of Charles Smith Hall, Caleb Wright, shout out to Caleb Wright, he was making videos as well because he has his own motivational company called Wright Inspiration. And he was giving me pointers, and I started practicing them when I went home for the pandemic, because I started off at Norfolk State University in August of 2019. In March of 2020, when COVID really hit, we all had to go home. So that's when I continued making videos. And he told me, "Isaiah, do this, try this, consider doing it this way." And I took heed to what he said. And I remember just getting better. Now that when I do my videos, I'm like, "What's up, y'all? It's Isaiah." All of this, right? And check out this video right quick.
Hey, yo, what's up, Ramley? It's a great day, man. I'm smiling because God is good, and I'm just excited about what God is doing in this season of my life. I hope you're excited about what God is doing in your life. Listen, smile today. You have no reason to complain. It's a nice day out. It's about 60-something degrees down here in Winston. So smile, rejoice, and be glad that you're alive and that God allowed you to see another day. Let's get in. Let's go.
Y'all see how I've gotten better? Did y'all see the progression? So that's a video of me now, and I'll show a video y'all later on another episode of how I started off. But I just want to say that I've gotten so much better, and it's because of the help of God. So I mentioned that, and then I talked about on my second episode with my guest Winston Ross, who is my roommate, that I go to sleep early. I usually go to sleep around 10:30 or 11. And really it's because I would used to stay up late, like 1 or 2 in the morning, and I would have something to do early the next morning. And so I would find myself being tired. I wasn't one of those people who would be able to push through and fight off sleep. So the Holy Spirit, which is part of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, the Trinity that belong to God. The Holy Spirit would say, Isaiah, why not just go to sleep earlier? So I started doing that, and it's definitely worked. And then I also mentioned that I'm a licensed minister. I'm going to tell y'all how that came about. My pastor emeritus, Reverend Dr. Jim Howley, had called me up into the pulpit the first Sunday in April of 2018 and said, Isaiah, come here. I remember we were about to take communion and I was sitting in the back of the church. So my church back home is in a cathedral. It's called the Historic Little Rock Missionary Baptist Church. And I was sitting on the left side. And so he saw me, called me up to the pulpit. And I remember I just felt nervous because if you don't know, if you've ever been in church, when your pastor call your name, you just get nervous all of a sudden. But I remember having the peace of God over me. So I walked up there and he pointed to my seat. These were his exact words. This is your seat from now on, except on the fourth Sundays when you will be singing. Because on the fourth Sundays, I sung with the youth choir, which was called Youth for Christ Singers. And I sat in the choir stand on those Sundays, but anytime I wasn't singing, I was supposed to be in that seat. So I started the process. I would literally do things during the worship experience. I would read scripture. I would do the responsive reading where I would say something as the leader in the congregation. The people who were sitting in the pews, they would respond. And then at the end, we would say something all together. I would pray over the offering, and even I would do the altar call prayer. And one time I ran service. So my pastor emeritus, he said, okay, I'm going to be out next Sunday. Can you do the service for me? I said, yes, I can, Reverend. So I did the service and that went well. And then on the third episode, I mentioned how both of my parents are still alive. If you remember, my guest then was Denari Macklin. Was not he awesome, y'all? I mean, he was really awesome. And he mentioned how his mother passed away at the age of 11. And so I said, I'm so glad that my parents are still alive because I couldn't even imagine losing either one of my parents at an early age. So I'm grateful to still have my parents. And then also the fourth episode, I mentioned that I'm 23 years of age. My birthday is October 4th, if you don't know. So shout out to all Libras. And if you are watching, shout out to all Libras. And I also mentioned that I'm graduating in May. So I'm a senior at Winston-Salem State University, graduating May 9th, 2025. Can y'all believe it? This is my sixth and final year in college. I'm so excited to be graduating, right? And then I mentioned how my football team is the Detroit Lions. So I am from Michigan. And because I'm from Michigan, the team I represent is in Michigan, which is the Detroit Lions. Now, I'm going to tell y'all something. We were supposed to go to the Super Bowl. We ended up being the number one seed in the NFC. So if you don't know about the NFL, there's the NFC, which is the North or the National Football Conference. And then there's the AFC, which is the American Football Conference. And usually there are I believe there are 8 teams, or I want to say there are 16 teams that make the playoffs, and it narrows down to 4. So when it gets down to 4, it's 2 teams in the NFC championship game and then 2 teams in the AFC championship game. Well, we played the Washington Commanders in the divisional round because the first seed of each conference gets a bye for the playoffs, so they don't have to play that first game. We played the Washington Commanders and we lost, and the Washington Commanders played the Philadelphia Eagles, and the Philadelphia Eagles won and made it to the Super Bowl and beat the Kansas City Chiefs. First of all, can we just celebrate that the Eagles won? I mean, I was so happy. I don't think anybody wanted to see Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs win. And thank you, Jalen Hurts, for taking care of business, my man. You are the guy. But my team did not make it, but I'm hoping that we make it next year. I believe we will. They fired our offensive coordinator, or I should say our offensive coordinator went to the Chicago Bears and our defensive coordinator went to the New York Jets. We're sad to see y'all go, but I wish y'all the best, all right? But some about me that I have not mentioned is I have a brother. His name is Paul. He's 20 years old. He's a junior at Claflin University. Claflin is another historically black college and university, or HBCU. He's an alpha. He's a part of Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity. And I love him. I appreciate him. He's majoring in sports communications, sports management, excuse me. And he's doing great things. And I'm so proud of him. So that's my brother. That's my brother. And one thing about me is I love God. So you will hear me talk about God on this show. I'm unapologetic about God. I'm not ashamed to mention him. And I just want y'all to know that. All right. Are y'all enjoying the show so far? I'm glad y'all are. Let's get into Isaiah's Insight. Isaiah's Insight. So normally how I was doing it was waiting to the last part of the show to do it and basically touch on the quote of the day, which is now Insightful Quotes. But it's a little different now. I'm going to be telling y'all some of the things I've observed. So my first observation, I was talking to this lady from my church back home, which is in Detroit. The church I mentioned, the historic Little Rock Missionary Baptist Church a few moments ago, is in Detroit, Michigan. And we were on the phone recently. And she said, Isaiah, you sound country. And I said, you're the second person to tell me that. So I want to know, y'all, do I sound country? Let me know in the comments, do I sound country? And I want to see what you have to say. Not only that, but have y'all noticed that these weeks have been going by really fast? I remember when I was in high school, which was 6-7 years ago, and the weeks would go by super fast. I still remember it being Friday. I would get out of school and the weekend would seem normal. It would go by, it would be long and we would enjoy our weekend. But now it seems like there's Friday, then there's Monday. Like Friday to Monday, in my opinion, is just one day. So all that to say, make sure you enjoy your weekends and you take time to do what you need to do. Rest, relax, have fun, whatever you need to do. Y'all enjoying the show so far? Awesome. Let's get into our guest. Our guest is an 18-year-old freshman from Virginia Beach, Virginia. He is a student at Winston-Salem State University. Just to tell you something about him, he is intrigued with the environment and how he works. He loves fashion and he loves to be social with people. Also, his purpose is to be engaged with his community. Please welcome to the show my guest, Donovan Edmonds. Donovan, thanks for being on the show, bro.
Yeah, no problem. No problem.
I'm glad you was able to make it. So listen, man, I know you were my legacy student and you were a great legacy student here at Winston-Salem State University, everybody. We have legacy leaders and those are the big brothers and big sisters to the incoming freshmen as well as those who are transfers, because at Winston-Salem State University, we have something called Rendition Week, which is new student orientation. And I got the privilege and honor to be your legacy leader. How was that being a legacy student?
It was an experience. It was something that was needed, you know, being here, especially being out of state, you know what I'm saying, not really familiar with the area. So you really did help out, you know, getting around campus and really understand what we could do here.
Right.
So, yeah.
Now I understand that you're from Virginia Beach, Virginia. How is Virginia Beach, Virginia different than Winston-Salem?
I could say back at home, it's way more diverse than it is here. Mm-hmm. And I don't mean that in like a negative way, as in like here, you know, I'm around my people. And I kind of appreciate that. Back at home, it's a whole bunch of different people that act a whole bunch of different ways. And also, y'all don't have a beach, which kind of sucks.
Yeah.
You know, like back at home, I'm 10 minutes from the beach. So after school, if I got bored and I wanted to go to the beach, we would just go to the beach.
Right. Now, I know you said people act differently. What are some ways people act differently here than back home?
People back home, they're not original.
Uh-huh.
And what I mean by that is a lot of people try to act differently to what they really are. And that's something that I always kind of hopped out the benefit of doing. I'm always do me. And here, everybody just does them. And I kind of like, I love that because it's just like everybody is individual. Back at home, everybody tries to be like each other.
And that's how I knew you would thrive here, because I see you're in your freshman year and I see you with your friends a lot. I see you talking. And one of the things I found out about you is you're social. So talk to me about how did being social become natural?
My father.
Your father? Okay.
No doubt. My father taught me something at like a young age, which was always be a liquid person. Be able to kind of flow and kind of adapt to wherever you're at. So me growing up, being around my dad, he knew everybody. My dad knew everybody in the city. My dad knew everybody almost in the state. That's what it felt like. Everywhere we're going, he knew somebody. And it was all types of different people. So he was able to talk to, you know, his street friends. He was able to talk to his corporate bosses. He was able to talk to the old Asian lady working at the convenience store. He was able to talk to everybody. And, you know, I picked up on those traits and I was able to kind of do that. So all throughout high school, you know, I was able to talk to all groups of people. You know, in high school, they have the stereotypes, like the athletes, the drama kids, you know, the nerd. I was able to talk to everybody because I felt like I kind of could fit in with everyone. So
now, have you ever had somebody that noticed that about you, that picked you for something, let's say talking in front of, like, okay, I know in school you have group projects, right? So were people always choosing you to be the one to represent on their behalf?
Yeah. Like the way that people around me always kind of put it, I've always had like that natural born leader complex. And I won't ever try to purposely put myself in there. It just happens. Yeah. And when that happens and people pick up on it, I'm always like I always end up being the center of attention somehow. It just happens.
Now, understand that not only are you social, but you love the environment. How did you get an interest or develop an interest for the environment?
Again, where I kind of like grew up at, is a lot. You know, there's a lot of open fields. There's a lot of coastal areas and stuff like that. So I've always had that interest. And then the more, you know, the older I got, the more I was like, okay, I could really do a lot with this. I really grew a passion for it.
Right.
So it went from me being outside, you know, and just hanging out with my friends in the neighborhood to me I became an intern at the zoo, a volunteer at the zoo. In high school, my junior and senior year, I went to this environmental science program for high school. So, you know, I was always being able to be involved, and I just loved that.
What was the name of the program called?
In high school, it was called the Environmental Studies Program of Virginia Beach Public Schools.
Being a part of that program, were they instructing y'all or requiring y'all to go to the zoo, or was that something you wanted to do on your own?
Well, so with the zoo thing, like me growing up, I always wanted to work at the zoo. You know, I always loved animals. I always thought it was cool. I was always there. And when I got to that program, your senior year, you get internships, right? Like they try to supply you with an internship. And it's not just like, they have everything from zoo internships, the aquarium, stuff where like people look at trail cameras, data, coding, all that type of stuff. It's everything. So when I got the opportunity, you know, they was like, listen, it's not a full like planned internship yet. So y'all got to try to make it something. Right. And with that, they was like, you know what, how about y'all apply to be volunteers during the summer? Okay. So that's what me and a couple of my classmates did. We applied to be volunteers. We made it. And with us becoming the volunteers and us making a statement there, then they were able to supply us with that internship throughout the school year. So I was basically at the zoo for almost a year and a half straight, just from the summertime all the way through the school year, my senior year.
Did you ever work with any of the animals?
Not a lot. I mean, I got a couple chances every now and then, but one thing that it taught me is that I was kind of forced to automatically play like that child's place role. You know what I'm saying? Especially like with the volunteer thing, it was like all ages. So I was I'm over here, you know, now turning 18, but I'm over here working with like 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, I really had to make my voice be heard and let them know like, yo, okay, I understand that to y'all, you know, y'all are grown and I might not be paying my own bills and things like that, but I'm way more mature than y'all think I am. So I had to, you know, prove that to them. And I did. So I got a lot more chances to be more hands-on, to be more involved than just walking around and giving facts to people who were there. You know what I'm saying? So,
When you started doing that, letting people know who you were in the sense of I'm not grown, but yet y'all are going to respect me, did you ever experience some resistance?
I mean, at first, but when when you're persistent about it, it gets to a point like they're going to have to understand where you're coming from. Yeah. So at first, you know, they try to play off the little subtle yet oh well, no, you just
Yeah.
need more experience. Like I don't think they didn't understand how much experience I really had. So
Yeah.
I had to let that be known, and I had to show them.
I want y'all to watch out because Donovan's gonna let y'all know if y'all ever have a problem with him. He's gonna let y'all know. But I think that's great because a lot of people they fail to speak up. So has that always been a part of you?
Younger, I had to build that skill to speak up for myself. Younger, I always, it was always a little bit of bullying and a little bit of back and forth going on. I wasn't really able to stand up for myself. And I forgot what incident it was, but around like middle school, end of middle school, I was like, yo,
Yeah.
I gotta let people know who I am. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And it was just like, I'm not gonna sit here and force myself to be somebody else. That was my problem. Everybody younger wants to be cool. Everybody wants to fit into what I never did that. I never had no need to do that. I never fitted with trends. I never fit in with, just trying to be normal. I know that I'm different. I don't care. I let people know. I know I'm an odd person, but I don't have a problem with it. I'm odd. I like what I like. I don't care what you think about me. So from then on, I just kind of became me.
Right.
And then it just went from there.
I like that. Now, you say you like what you like, and I know you like the environment. Talk to me about what developed your love for the environment and why people should have a love for the environment.
It's all right. So with the way the society is now, everybody is stressed.
Mm-hmm.
You can't beat it. Unless you are a 6-figure living person and you just got all your stuff handled besides that, you are stressed.
Yeah.
Getting involved inside the environment really soothed me. Everybody's gonna have that like rough patches sometimes, with their life. And when I kind of had a moment for me, when I got involved with the environment, it was like that was like my therapy.
Yeah.
It's beautiful, it's diverse, it's different, and it's real. People aren't used to anything being real. The environment is real. You can't beat that. So that's something that people need to like kind of understand. The environment is real. There's a lot that it does for us, and there's a lot that we do to it. We have to understand that there's like I don't know. It's like a canon event,
Right.
So I feel like that's something that people need to understand.
Do you think that people see the environment as rare, therefore they don't feel the need to treat it with respect?
I think people don't have that skill of observation. Life is way more than the simplistics than what it is. People will go outside, see a tree, and just think, okay, it's a tree.
Right.
You look deeper into the tree. That tree is holding a whole bunch of wildlife and has life within it. That tree could be 300 years old and you wouldn't know.
Yeah.
That tree could be harboring carvings and whatever, you wouldn't know.
Right.
And it's like a lesson. It's like people just look at things and it's just like, okay, they look at it from the outside, but you need to think deeper on what is really going on.
I like that. Are y'all not enjoying our guest so far?
I get deep with these type of talks. Yeah.
I love this, man. This is great. And I wish more people would be authentic because I think we live in a world where people are not authentic and they choose not to pursue what they like. And I know another thing about you is you love fashion. How did you get into fashion? Because your fits are amazing. I was scrolling through your page and I said, his fits are amazing. I know you like to have a lot of baggy pants, hoodies. So how did your love for hoodies and fashion develop?
It really just developed over time because I'm gonna be honest. Like I didn't have a style when I was younger. I used to look doozy. I ain't had no fits. I had my older cousins really kind of like. My older cousin, his mom was like a fashion designer. So she used to always, hook him up with clothes. And then I would see his progress and his style started to pick up. And I was like, you know what? I kind of need to learn my own thing. And that's what I started doing. And then when I got here, I actually joined a fashion organization called Phantom Kids that's on campus. And meeting people who also have a sense of like fashion and production and stuff like that. It's like, they're starting to open my eyes up on more fashion things. So at the end of the day, I'm always wear what I'm comfortable with, but also getting me to hop out my comfort zone with certain clothing.
Now, I know there are some students here at this school that watch my show and they might be interested into fashion. So tell us about what Phantom Kiss is, when you all meet, some of the things that you all do on campus.
So it's a very new organization. They started last spring.
Okay.
They call it my line, I guess, but my line we had crossed in the fall. We had a casting call, and you go out there. I wanted to be a model.
Okay.
Right? That's why I was wanting to get into. They have production, they have, media, like people with cameras, people who want to design clothes and stuff like that. It's all based on fashion. So it's not based on like us, the models ourselves. Like we're just there to wear clothes. We're not there to do too much. We're not there to do a whole bunch of crazy stuff. We're there to just go out and make the clothes look good. Not really focus on ourselves, but to make the clothes look good.
Understood.
And like I said, we're still starting up, but we're all still becoming one community with each other before we really start doing a lot. But I know we have some plans of like, what was it called? Like come and design your own type of clothing, like a design workshop, basically. We have stuff like that. But yeah, we have our Spirit Week in, I think late March, I believe, around there. So we'll be around campus. You'll see us. We actually just had a runway performance 2 days ago.
How did it go?
It went pretty well. We were like a co-host of like a open mic thing in Thompson, and it was like our first time really, kind of stepping out and showing people who we are. And we had like a little theme. It was all black with shades. It was like unlocked characters was our theme. So we got lined up and we did our thing, and the crowd was into it. There was a lot of camera flashes, a lot of flashlights. It was great. So yeah, that was like really we love doing events like that.
I'm glad to hear that. Well, you've been a great guest, Donovan. Have y'all enjoyed Donovan? Oh, he was amazing. He was amazing. But thank you all so much for tuning in to Insights with Isaiah show. We'll see you all next time.